What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another one of Rome's Things. In this video, we're going to be doing something a bit different. We are staying indoors. It's been an extremely hot summer and my outdoor activities have been really limited. So today I'm sitting at my desk in front of the computer in the comfort of my air-conditioned home. Today I'll show you how you can get started making and editing your own videos, whether you're starting your own YouTube channel or just making some videos for some friends and family. This video is for you. I'll be showing you how to use iMovie. It's a free piece of software that comes with every Mac. If you're on a Windows machine, don't worry. I'll come out with another video to show you what your options are, and you have quite a few. iMovie has been around since 1999. It's a pretty mature piece of software. Of course, it still has its bumps, but it still remains as the go-to piece of software for video editing for beginners on Macs. If for some reason iMovie is not installed on your Mac, you can simply go to the App Store and download it. If it's not installed on your system, it will show Get here. But since I already have it installed, it shows Open. It's free, but might take a while to download and install because of its size. You can pause the video here while you take care of that. When you first open up iMovie, you'll be greeted with the Projects window. Here you can view your media or your projects. You can see any existing projects or create a new project. I'm going to click on the Create New box and it'll give us two options, create a movie or trailer. If you select trailer, you'll be presented with a list of templates for creating short trailers. We won't select that in this video, but I'll come up with another one to go over that option. So I'll select movie. This will take us to the main video editor window. This window is broken up into three main sections. On the top left, you have your media library. To the right of that is your viewer window where you can view your media files and the movie that you're putting together. On the bottom is the timeline. This is where you do the actual editing of the movie. So let's go over each section one at a time. The media library is where you can find all the assets for your movie. Clips, photos, music, special effects, and anything else you want to add to your movie will be found here. Let's go ahead and start adding some media to our project. When you click on the Add Media button, it opens up a Finder window. It looks a little different from the system's Finder, but works the same way. So we'll navigate to where the media files are and select them. My media files are located on an external SSD, so any external sources such as hard drives, thumb drives, and even memory cards are also accessible here. You can select a single file or multiple by holding down Shift to select continuous files or hold Command down and click only the files you need. You can also preview each individual file in the preview window. Once you've selected what you need, click on Import Selected. We can now see our imported media in the library. Right-clicking on a file opens a menu where you can play, delete, or rate it. If you rate it, you can then sort your files by rating. If you want to add more files to your library, you can right-click in the Explorer area and select Import Media. You can also click this button here to open the Import Finder. If you haven't noticed, when we imported our media, it imported them into an event library. You can create more events by right-clicking and selecting New Event. This is a good way to organize your media files. When we click on My Movie under Project Media here, we see that there are no media files still. Now you may be wondering, what gives? I thought we imported some. Well, what we did was import media into the movie library. We haven't added them to this specific project yet. We can do that in two ways. We'll go ahead and click on Import Media from here. Select the clip and Import Selected. Now it shows up in your project media list. The other way to add to your project media is by adding it to the project timeline. We can do this by either dragging the clip from an event library to the timeline, or by clicking this plus sign when you select the clip. Now we can see that they've been added to the project media. If you want to adjust the size of the thumbnails in the library, you can click on this gear icon. You can make the thumbnails larger or smaller, you can zoom in on the thumbnail, and if your clip has audio, you can show the audio waveform. This comes in handy when you want to skim through the clip to find a certain section based on the audio. In addition to imported media, you also have available to you many pre-installed assets such as titles, sound effects, and transitions. Right now our project is called iMovie. That is the default name given to an iMovie project. To rename the project, you have to go back to the projects page by clicking here. A pop-up will appear where you can rename the project. I think this is a bit odd, but hey, what are you going to do? Now we can see our project with its newly given name. We can also view all our imported media without having to open a project. This viewer here works the same way as the viewer in the main editor page. So let's take a closer look at this viewer and how it interacts with media files. When you select a clip by clicking on it, it appears in the viewer. When it's in the viewer, you can play it by pressing the spacebar or clicking on the play button in the viewer. If it's an audio file, the viewer will just show a blank screen. You can also skim or scrub through the clip by hovering over its thumbnail with the mouse and moving the mouse left and right to go backwards and forwards. This is a quick way to find a spot in the clip. If you want to skim through an audio clip or a video clip's audio as well, you can select View in the menu bar and select Audio Skimming. In the viewer, you notice some controls along the top and the bottom. On the bottom, starting from the left, you have a Favorite button and a Reject button. When you click on one of them, the icon is highlighted. You can't have both be selected and highlighted. You can't have a favorited clip be rejected at the same time. Another thing you may have missed is if you look closely at the clip's thumbnail, you'll notice that favoriting or rejecting it adds a colored border on the top. Green for favorite and red for rejected. Now you can sort and organize your media files even further by showing just your favorited clips. This can help you work more efficiently instead of having to scroll through all your clips and find the ones you're using. In the middle bottom of the viewer, you have some playback buttons. The play button, of course, plays the clip. You also have two buttons on either side. These take you to either the previous clip with the left arrow or the next clip in your library with the right arrow. The left arrow also takes you to the beginning of the current clip if you're not already at the beginning. And on the bottom right is a button that enables you to view the clip in full screen. You also get a playback panel. To get out of full screen, you can press the Escape key or click on this icon here. Let's face it, unless you're working in a studio, your video clips will almost always never be perfect. Either the lighting was off, there was too much background noise, or the settings on your camera were just wrong. Whatever it is, iMovie provides the tools to make the necessary modifications and adjustments to make your movie look its best. Along the top of the viewer, you'll find several tools to do just that. At the far left is what looks like a magic wand. This tool automatically makes adjustments based on the clip's data. If the clip appears too dark, this tool makes adjustments for that. It also works on audio clips. Just click it and forget it. It's like magic, hence the magic wand icon. If you prefer to manually make your own adjustments, the tools in the middle here will help you do that. The first tool is Color Balance. Clicking on it reveals several options. If you select Auto, iMovie will analyze your clip and make any adjustments to correct for any color biases or inaccuracies. You can see that after selecting it, the clip becomes a bit brighter with a little more contrast. This actually looks similar to the Magic Wand tool I mentioned earlier, except it only adjusts color data, whereas the magic wand tool adjusts the audio as well. The next option is very interesting and can be very useful. Let's take these two clips. We can see that one is a desert-like scene. There are lots of red and yellow hues in the footage. It conveys a feeling of warmth and heat. And then we have this clip. Although it is in the sun, it appears cooler, as if the water helped to cool this person down. There are more blues and greens in the clip. Now, suppose we want to make the first clip look and feel like the second. Nice and cool after a nice splash of water. With the Match Color tool, we select the first desert scene as the target clip. Click on Match Color. This will open a second viewfinder for the source clip. We can even skim the source clip for exactly where we want to match to. Click on the source clip and iMovie will match the colors as close as possible automatically. Pretty neat, huh? This is great for situations like this, or if, say, you're working with clips from different cameras. I always experience this with my DSLR, my action camera, and my phone camera, where they always look different, even if they're shot in the same place at the same time. The next color correction tool is white balance. Now, white balance is the way for a camera to determine the true color of white. This then is used as a reference point or baseline for measuring all other colors. When the white balance is off, it can produce inconsistent and unrealistic color casts. When you select white balance, the cursor changes into an eyedropper, and iMovie asks you to select a color in the video frame. You want to try to find an object that is supposed to be white. Here, I'll select one of these lane divider strips. They're supposed to be white, right? You can see that there was a slight change in the clip. It lost a little of that greenish cast in the original. The last option is skin tone balance. This works in a similar way as white balance, but uses skin tones as a color reference point. This is great for adjusting to skin tones and removing casts that may cause skin to look a little weird. The next tool you have available is the color correction tool. Like the color balance tool, this tool lets you make adjustments to a clip's color. Selecting it opens up a few more options, each appearing as sliders you can use to adjust the values. The first slider is used to adjust your levels. The far left black handle is used to adjust the shadows in your clip. The middle gray handle adjusts the overall brightness, and the far right white handle is for adjusting the highlights. As you move them left and right, you can see the changes. The two half-moon sliders are used to adjust the contrast in the clip. The next slider is used to adjust the clip's saturation. Dragging the slider left decreases the amount of color in the clip, while dragging it to the right increases it. The last slider on the right is for color temperature. Dragging it to the left towards the blue side shifts the colors towards the cooler blues, while dragging it to the yellow side shifts it towards warmer colors. As with all the other tools, you can click on Reset to revert your changes and go back to the original. iMovie's color correction tools may not be as advanced as other video editors out there, but it is more than enough for beginners to create great-looking movies. The cropping tool enables you to crop portions of your clip. To do this, click on the cropping tool. You can use these buttons to rotate the clip clockwise or counterclockwise. Next, click on the crop button. The clip is now framed by a dotted line with handles on the corners and sides. Drag on one of the handles to change the height and/or width of the clip. To constrain the clip's ratio, hold down Shift as you drag. This will maintain the crop's aspect ratio to the original. You can then drag from inside the crop area to move it around. If you are satisfied with the crop, click on the blue check mark to continue. Clicking on Reset All at the top right resets not only the changes with the current tool, but all changes with all other tools. You can also crop a clip when it is already in the timeline. It's slightly different steps, but I'll show you that once we get started using the timeline. The next tool is the stabilization tool, but as you can see, it's grayed out and becomes available when you add the clip to the project timeline. I'm going to skip that one for now and come back to it when we start adding clips to the timeline. The next tool available is the volume tool. You can have iMovie automatically adjust the volume by clicking on the Auto button. You can see that when I select Auto, the magic wand icon also highlights. The next button is used to mute the audio track. And then there's a slider to manually adjust the volume, which is shown as a percentage. To the right are more controls. When you check the box for lower volume of other clips, iMovie automatically lowers the volume of other clips when this clip is playing in the timeline. This is great for when you have background music playing throughout the video, but want to lower it when another clip is playing. The slider next to it lets you adjust how much you want to lower the volume. When we get to using the timeline, I'll show you an example of how this works. To the right of the volume tool is another audio tool. Here you can reduce a clip's background noise and apply an equalizer preset to your audio. Clicking on the checkbox reduces any background noise in the clip, and you can use the slider next to it to adjust how much it is reduced by. On the right is a drop-down with several equalizer presets. The default is flat, but you can select another preset based on what your clip is. If it's a voiceover, select Voice Enhance. For background music, Music Enhance. Play around with the different presets to see what works for your clips. Like the stabilization tool, the clip speed tool only works once a clip is added to the timeline. I'll revisit this tool again later when we're putting things together in the timeline. This next tool is where all the fun begins. The clip filter and audio effects tool lets you add some cool visual and audio effects. When you click on clip filter, it opens up another window with a whole assortment of visual effects. You can make your clip look like a comic book or an old school film. Once you select an effect, you can adjust the amount applied to the clip with this slider. The audio effect opens up a similar window.
Sun's out, absolutely clear, look how far you can see out.
Have fun with this one, but a word of advice, don't overdo it.
Alright, so next time, hope you guys enjoy this video.
Finally, the last tool is not really a tool, but it shows more info about the selected clip. It shows the file name, when it was imported, and its duration. If you look here, there's also this Reset All button. Clicking on this resets all changes from all tools to the selected clip. So if you've added some color corrections, filters, and any other modifications, this will remove all of them, taking the clip back to its original state. The timeline is where we place all our media assets together. As the name implies, a timeline is sequential. Clips we place at the start of the timeline will appear at the start of our movie, and continue to the next clips as time progresses until we get to the last clip in the timeline. The timeline can contain several different types of media as well, from video clips to photos to audio clips and even title sequences. I added a few more clips into our project media library, including some music and a voiceover audio. But before we start, let's go over here on the right and click on Settings. We can see some of the settings for our movie. We can see it's set at 1080p. Now if you want, you can select a theme for the movie. I won't select one here though. You can also set a filter for the whole movie. I'm just going to leave the settings as is for now though. Now let's add our first clip to the timeline. I'm going to select this aerial forest clip and drag it to the timeline. You can see that the timeline knows how long the clip is and creates a blue rectangle about the size of the clip and places it at the beginning of the timeline. So I'll drop it in there and we can now see the clip in the timeline. You can press the spacebar to start playing the movie, or you can move your mouse left and right and the movie will play forward and backward. Now the next thing I want to do is add a title. So let's go up here in the media library to titles. I'm going to select the title style. This one looks pretty good, and I'm going to drag it to the timeline. When you enter the timeline, it becomes this purple bar, and you place it above the first clip. And now, when we play the movie, we see our clip and the title we just added. Let's change the title now, since we don't want it to say title goes here. To do that, we double-click the purple bar here. You can now see that the title is highlighted in the viewer, and we can start typing our new title. If we want our title to show a little shorter or longer, we can just drag the edge here. That looks pretty good. Now let's do one more thing before I add another clip. When we start the movie, everything just suddenly appears. What I wanted to do is fade in. Remember the settings button? Let's click on that and we can see a checkbox for fade in. Let's check that, and I'm also going to check the fade out checkbox as well. Now, when we start the movie, we see it fade in from black. Alright, let's add another clip, but instead of adding it to the end of our movie, I want to add it to the middle of this forest clip. So it'll kind of look like a cut to a different clip, but come back to the forest. I can do it one of two ways. I could just drop the new clip above the first clip and it will act as a B-roll. Both clips will continue to play, but the new one is above, so it's the one that will show. The other way would be to split the first clip and add the new clip at that split. This way you don't lose parts of the clip. To do that, simply place the playhead, which is this vertical line, where you want to split the clip. Then right-click the clip and select Split Clip. You can now see a little gap and you can drag the new clip into that gap. Before doing that though, I want to use just a portion of the new clip. To do that, hold down the R key and then click and drag the portion you want to use. You can now see the selected portion highlighted. Now right-click on the clip and select Trim Clip. You can also trim clips before placing them on the timeline using the same method from the media library. Now let's add an audio clip to the timeline. I want to add this music clip to my movie. Audio clips are added in the same way by either dragging them onto the timeline or by clicking this plus icon. You'll notice that audio clips appear at the bottom of the timeline below video clips. Now I'm going to zoom in on this audio clip we added. Unlike video clips, audio clips will consist of a waveform. This represents the audio levels. The louder parts of a clip are represented by the peaks and the lower, softer parts, the valleys. Looking closely, you also see a horizontal line stretching all the way across the entire audio clip. This represents the clip's volume level. Dragging it up increases the volume and dragging it down decreases it. If you drag it up far enough, you'll begin to see the peaks in the waveform start to turn yellow and eventually red. You don't want to see red. Red means your audio levels are peaking and start becoming distorted. If you have to increase your volume, try to keep it where there is just a little yellow showing. If you need to change the volume of just a portion of the audio clip, you can hold down the Alt key and click on the volume line. This will create points on the volume line you can use to increase or decrease the volume. This is great if you want to lower the volume of, say, a music track while another clip is playing. Like video clips, you can also fade in and out on an audio clip. Doing this is a little different though. If you look closely, you can see this little circle with a dot in it when you hover over the beginning or end of an audio clip. You'll also see the cursor change into left and right triangles. When you drag these triangles, you can see what looks like a curved shadow over the start or the end of the clip. The farther you drag, the longer it fades in or out. I want to add another audio clip, this time a voiceover. I don't want to use the whole clip though, there are some unusable takes on it. So I'm just going to grab a portion. Earlier I did this from the timeline. Now I'll do it while it's still in the library. So hold down the R key and drag the portion you want to use. Now when I click on the plus sign, it'll only add the selected part to the timeline. I'll just trim the voiceover clip and adjust the volume keyframes. And now we have a nice voiceover with the music softened. To me, not only is mountain biking fun, but it's great exercise and gets you out into the beauty of nature. When I play the movie, it quickly cuts between the different clips. To make this appear smoother, you can add transitions between clips. Clicking on the Transitions tab, we can see all the available transitions. You can preview a transition by hovering over the thumbnail and moving the mouse left and right. When you find one you like, just click and drag to the timeline to the area between your clips. I like this one. You can double-click the transition to reveal more options. You can change the duration of the transition and apply the transition to all clips if you wish. By default, it only applies the transition to the current clip. I'll add another transition between these two clips and increase its duration to 3 seconds. Earlier I mentioned some tools in the viewfinder that can only be applied to clips in the timeline. Let's go back to those now. I have this clip here of me riding. There's a lot of movement in it, so I'll use the stabilization tool on it. My GoPro already does a great job of that, but let's see how this tool works. I'm going to make sure the clip is selected in the timeline, place the playhead somewhere in the clip, then select the stabilization tool. To stabilize a clip, check the Stabilize Shaky Video checkbox. iMovie will start to analyze the clip and perform the necessary changes. If you need to adjust the amount of stabilization, you can use this slider here. iMovie can also fix any rolling shutter effects you might have on your clips. What's rolling shutter, you may ask? This usually happens when you move or pan with a digital camera too quickly. I'll also use the clip speed tool here to slow down parts of this clip to give it a slow motion effect. Remember to select part of a clip, hold down the R key and drag across the portion of the clip that you want to slow down. This drop-down shows options to slow or speed up the clip, create a freeze frame, or setting a custom speed. There are also options to smooth and even reverse the clip. I added a few more pieces to my movie using the methods we just learned. And here's the finished piece. It's just a short movie, more like an intro, but with enough in it to show you all the things you can do with iMovie. The last thing to do now is export the movie. The best and easiest way to do this is to go back to the Projects window by clicking here. Now from here you can hover over your project and click on these 3 dots. This will open up a menu where you can select Share Project and then File. This will export your movie to an MP4 file. Now you can export from the main editor window, but I found that this way can be tricky, especially if you don't have the actual movie selected. You can end up exporting just a clip from the media library or even get a failed export. After you select Share, then File, a dialog window opens up. Here you can set the file's title, add a brief description, select the format as audio only or video and audio, set the resolution of the export file, set the quality, and even change the file compression. On the bottom left, you can see the duration and estimated file size of the exported video. You'll notice that when you make certain export changes, the file sizes go up or down. I'll just stick with the default options. Click on Next and you can choose what to name the file and where to export it to. Click on Save when you're ready and it will begin the export. You can see its progress here at the top right. And we can see it completed successfully, and now we can view the exported movie. To me, not only is mountain biking fun, but it's great exercise and gets you out into the beauty of nature. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If there's anything you want me to go into more detail about, please let me know. I look forward to making more of these types of videos in addition to my travel content. Also, please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification buttons. It really does help out a lot. Thank you for all your support. I really do appreciate it. Till next time.